Ji-woo walked through the sliding doors of Classroom 7B with her datapad clutched against her chest. The room fell silent the moment she entered. It always did. She was used to it by now. 3 weeks into the Galactic Academy's integration program, and every species still watched her like she was something strange. Not dangerous, not weak, just different. The Zenthari students with their blue skin and 4 arms shifted in their seats. The small, furry Pixen huddled closer together. Even the plant-like Florins seemed to lean away slightly. Ji-woo found her usual seat near the window and sat down. She placed her datapad on the desk and stared out at the stars beyond the station. Earth was out there somewhere, millions of miles away. She wondered if her mom was awake right now, making breakfast in their small apartment in Seoul. "Good morning, students," Instructor Velmara said as she glided into the room. Velmara was tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. She was a Novan, one of the neutral species that ran most of the galaxy's schools. "Today we will continue our study of Death World ecosystems." Ji-woo pulled up her notes. Death worlds. That's what they called planets like Earth, places where everything seemed designed to kill you. High gravity, dangerous weather, predators everywhere. She'd learned that most species in the galaxy came from much gentler worlds, places where the biggest threat was maybe a strong wind or a mildly poisonous plant. The door hissed open again. Every head in the room turned. A Vraken stood in the doorway. Ji-woo had seen Vraken before, but only from a distance. They were hard to miss. This one was young, probably her age, but he still stood nearly 7 feet tall. His skin was dark gray, almost black and covered in smooth scales. His eyes were bright yellow with vertical pupils. When he moved, his muscles rippled under his skin in a way that reminded Ji-woo of the big cats she'd seen in documentaries. But it was his claws that everyone stared at. Each finger ended in a curved, obsidian-black claw. Right now, they were partially extended. A sign of stress, Ji-woo remembered from her xenobiology readings. "Rocky," Instructor Velmara said calmly. "Please find a seat." The young Vraken nodded. His yellow eyes scanned the room. The back corner had a section where other predator species usually sat. A few Kraven students with their sharp beaks, 2 Felsians with their lion-like features. But all those seats were full. The only empty seat was next to Ji-woo. The room became even quieter, if that was possible. Ji-woo could feel dozens of eyes watching. Predator species didn't sit next to prey species. That was the unspoken rule. Vraken especially kept their distance. They came from a world where they were the apex predators, where everything else was food. Rocky stood frozen in the doorway. His claws extended further, then retracted, then extended again. Ji-woo recognized the gesture now. He was nervous. She looked at the empty chair beside her, then at Rocky. Then, without making it a big deal, she reached down and picked up her bag from the chair. She placed it on the floor by her feet and went back to looking at her datapad. An invitation, simple and clear. Rocky's yellow eyes widened slightly. He glanced at Instructor Velmara, who gave him an encouraging nod. Then he walked toward Ji-woo's desk. Each step was careful, measured. He moved like water, smooth and controlled. When he sat down, the chair creaked under his weight. He was careful not to let his claws touch the desk. Ji-woo noticed they were still extending and retracting. Extend, retract, extend, retract. She pulled her attention back to the front of the class. Instructor Velmara had started the lesson, explaining something about atmospheric composition on death worlds. But Ji-woo could feel the tension in the room. It was like static electricity before a storm. Next to her, Rocky sat stiffly. He was trying to make himself smaller, which was almost funny given his size. His breathing was fast. His claws kept moving. Ji-woo glanced at him from the corner of her eye, then she looked down at her bag. She'd brought a small puzzle cube with her from Earth. It was supposed to help with stress. Her therapist had given it to her before she left for the academy, saying it might help her adjust to being away from home. She'd never actually used it. Quietly, without looking at Rocky directly, Ji-woo reached into her bag and pulled out the cube. It was small, made of smooth metal, with different colored sections that could slide and rotate. She placed it on the desk between them and pushed it slightly toward him. Then she went back to taking notes. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, very slowly, a large gray hand reached out. One claw tapped the cube gently. It made a soft, clicking sound. The claw retracted. The hand pulled the cube closer. Ji-woo kept her eyes on her datapad. But she could hear the soft sounds of the puzzle being manipulated. Click. Slide. Rotate. Click. The sounds were rhythmic, almost soothing. Rocky's breathing slowed down. At the back of the classroom, 3 other Vraken students sat together. They were bigger than Rocky, probably older. Ji-woo had noticed them watching Rocky since he entered. Now they were watching her. She met the gaze of the largest one. He had scars across his snout and arms that marked him as someone who'd seen real fights. His yellow eyes were intense, studying her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Ji-woo didn't look away. She didn't show fear. She just looked at him calmly for a moment, then returned to her notes. This seemed to surprise him. His head tilted slightly, a gesture of confusion in Vraken body language. The rest of the class passed quietly. Instructor Velmara talked about oxygen levels and atmospheric pressure. Ji-woo took notes and occasionally glanced out at the stars. Beside her, Rocky worked on the puzzle cube. His claws had finally stopped their nervous dance. When class ended, students began filing out. Rocky carefully placed the puzzle cube back on the desk between them. He looked at it, then at Ji-woo. For a moment, she thought he might try to speak, but instead he just nodded once. A gesture of thanks. Ji-woo nodded back. She picked up the cube and held it out to him. "Keep it," she said. "I have more." That was a lie. She didn't have more. But something told her he needed it more than she did. Rocky's yellow eyes blinked in surprise. Slowly, carefully, he took the cube. His claws were fully retracted now. "Thank you," he said. His voice was deeper than she expected, with a slight growl underlying the words. "I am Rocky." "Ji-woo," she replied. He repeated her name carefully, getting the pronunciation almost right. Then he stood, the cube held carefully in one massive hand, and walked toward the door where his pack waited. The 3 older Vraken watched Ji-woo as Rocky approached them. They didn't look hostile. They looked curious. One of them said something in their own language, a series of growls and clicks. Rocky responded, glancing back at Ji-woo once before they all left together. The cafeteria was always the loudest place on the station. Hundreds of students from dozens of species all tried to eat their meals at the same time. The air filters worked overtime to handle the mix of smells, some sweet, some sour, some that made Ji-woo's eyes water. She sat at a small table near the viewing window with Ha-jun, the only other Korean student in her year. He was picking at something that looked like blue noodles but smelled like strawberries. "You're being followed," Ha-jun said without looking up from his food. Ji-woo took a bite of her rice, real rice from Earth, shipped at incredible expense. It tasted like home. "I know." "You know?" Ha-jun finally looked up. His eyes went wide behind his glasses. "Ji-woo, there are 3 Vraken sitting 2 tables behind us. They've been watching you for the past 4 days. 5 days, Ji-woo corrected. "They started the day after Rocky sat next to me." Ha-jun put down his fork. "And you're not worried?" "Should I be?" Ji-woo asked. She took another bite of rice. "They're predators." Ha-jun's voice rose slightly before he caught himself and lowered it again. "Their species evolved to hunt things. Their entire culture is built around pack hunting. and 3 of them are tracking you." "They're not hunting me," Jiwoo said calmly. "They're studying me." "That's not better." Jiwoo smiled slightly. She turned her head just enough to look at the Vraken table. Sure enough, 3 large figures sat there. The scarred one from class. Another with darker scales and bright orange eyes. A third who was slightly smaller, but moved with an energy that suggested he was the fastest of the group. They were all watching her. Jiwoo raised her cup of tea in a small salute. Then she turned back to her food. Hajun made a choking sound. Did you just acknowledge them?" "It's polite," Jiwoo said. "Polite? Jiwoo, I've been reading about Vraken culture. When they track something, it's usually because they're deciding if it's a threat or prey." "Then it's good I'm showing I'm not prey," Jiwoo replied. She finished her rice and stood up. "Come on, we have engineering in 20 minutes. Hajun scrambled to follow her, glancing nervously at the Vraken table as they left. Over the next week, the pattern continued. Rocky sat beside Jiwoo in every class they shared. He didn't talk much, but he was always careful with his movements around her. His claws stayed retracted. He worked on the puzzle cube during lectures, the soft, clicking sounds becoming a familiar background noise. And everywhere Jiwoo went, the pack followed at a distance. In the library, she would see them 3 shelves over, their yellow eyes watching between the books. In the observation deck, they would be at the opposite end, pretending to look at stars while tracking her movements. In the corridors, they maintained exactly 20 meters behind her. Other students noticed. The whispers grew louder. "The human and the Vraken. Have you seen his pack following her? Do you think she knows she's being hunted? Maybe humans can't sense danger." Jiwoo heard it all. She ignored most of it. On the 8th day, something changed. There was another human student named Yoonji. She was younger than Jiwoo, maybe 14, and she was not adjusting well to the academy. She jumped at loud noises. She avoided the predator species. She ate her meals in her room instead of the cafeteria. Jiwoo had tried to talk to her a few times, but Yoonji just seemed scared of everything. That afternoon, Jiwoo was in the recreation center. It was a large open space where students could exercise or play games. She was practicing her forms in a quiet corner. Taekwondo movements, smooth and controlled. It helped her think. She heard the commotion before she saw it. Yoonji's voice high and panicked. "Please, I didn't mean to!" Jiwoo stopped mid-kick and turned. Across the rec center, Yoonji was backing away from a Vraken, not one of Rocky's pack. This one was different, bigger, older. His scales were almost black, and his eyes were a deep red instead of yellow. "You bumped into me," the Vraken growled. "You touched me with your weak prey hands." "I'm sorry." Yoonji's back hit the wall. "I didn't see you." The Vraken took a step forward. His claws were fully extended. "Your kind should learn to watch where they walk, or learn to run faster." Yoonji did the worst thing she could have done. She ran. The Vraken's entire body language changed in an instant. His pupils dilated, his muscles tensed. Every instinct in his predator brain said, "Chase." He lunged forward. Jiwoo was already moving. She crossed the rec center in seconds, putting herself between Yoonji and the Vraken. She didn't run. She didn't back up. She just stood there, feet planted, arms loose at her sides. The Vraken stopped, his red eyes fixed on Jiwoo. "Move, human." "No," Jiwoo said simply. The rec center had gone completely silent. Every student stopped what they were doing. Even the instructor monitoring the room seemed frozen. "Move," the Vraken repeated. His voice was lower now, more dangerous. "Or I will move you." "You can try," Jiwoo said. Her voice was calm, almost conversational. "But I should tell you I'm not going to run, and I'm not going to move, so you'll have to go through me to get to her." The Vraken circled to the left. Jiwoo turned with him, keeping herself between him and Yoonji. He circled right. She mirrored the movement. You think you can stop me? The Vraken's growl was almost a laugh. I am Shrike of the Blackscale Pack. I have hunted prey 10 times your size. I'm sure you have, Jiwoo agreed. She kept her eyes on his center mass, not his face, a trick she'd learned in her self-defense classes. Watch the body, not the eyes. The body tells you where someone will move. But Yoonji is not prey. She's a student, just like you, just like me. She ran, Shrike said, as if that explained everything. Because you scared her, Jiwoo replied. She's young, she's far from home, and she made a mistake. Prey makes mistakes, Shrike said. Predators capitalize on them. Behind Jiwoo, she could hear Yoonji crying softly. Poor kid. She probably thought they were both about to die. The door to the rec center opened. 3 familiar figures entered. Rocky and his pack. The scarred one's yellow eyes immediately found the scene. He said something in the Vraken language, sharp and commanding. Shrike's head snapped toward them. He responded in the same language, a series of growls and snarls. The conversation was fast, aggressive. Jiwoo didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. It was an argument. Rocky stepped forward, positioning himself at an angle to Jiwoo, not threatening her, supporting her. The other 2 pack members flanked him. Shrike's red eyes narrowed. You stand with the prey? I stand with Jiwoo, Rocky said carefully. His pronunciation of her name had improved. And if you want to challenge her, you challenge us. The scarred Vraken nodded. The fast-looking one bared his teeth in what might have been a smile. They weren't interfering directly. That would be insulting in Vraken culture. But they were making their position clear. Shrike looked at Jiwoo again, at Rocky, at the pack. Then, faster than Jiwoo could track, he lunged forward. Not at Yoonji, at Jiwoo. It was a test. She knew it instantly. He wasn't trying to hurt her. He was trying to see what she would do. Jiwoo didn't think. Her body reacted on instinct. Years of training took over. As Shrike came at her, she stepped to the side and down, using his own momentum against him. Her hands caught his extended arm. She turned her hip, used leverage instead of strength. Shrike's massive body flipped over her and crashed into the padded mat. The rec center was dead silent. Shrike lay on his back, staring up at the ceiling. His red eyes were wide with shock. Jiwoo stood over him, breathing slightly faster, but otherwise calm. She extended her hand. We're good? For a long moment, Shrike didn't move. Then, slowly, he reached up and took her hand. She helped pull him to his feet. It took all her strength. He probably weighed twice what she did. You are not prey, Shrike said quietly. There was respect in his voice now, maybe even awe. No, Jiwoo agreed. I'm not. 2 days after the incident with Shrike, Jiwoo received a message on her datapad. It was written in standard Galactic, but the phrasing was formal and careful. Human Jiwoo of Earth, the pack requests your presence. Level 7, Recreation Hall B, Sunset Hour. Come alone. She showed it to Hajun during lunch. He nearly dropped his tray. You're not seriously thinking of going? Why wouldn't I? Jiwoo asked, taking a bite of her sandwich. Jiwoo, this is a formal challenge or some kind of pack ritual. You don't just walk into that. What if they're planning something? Like what? I don't know. Maybe they want to test you, fight you. Maybe they're still deciding if you're a threat. Hajun ran his hand through his hair, making it stick up. We should tell someone. Instructor Velmara, station security. Someone. No, Jiwoo said firmly. That would be insulting. They're giving me respect by inviting me properly. I need to show the same respect back. This is crazy. Probably, Jiwoo agreed. But when has that stopped me? That evening, Jiwoo made her way to Level 7. Recreation Hall B was smaller than the main rec center. It was usually used for private training sessions or cultural activities. When she entered, she found it empty, except for 4 Vraken. Rocky stood near the back. The 3 others formed a loose semicircle, the scarred one in the center, the dark-scaled one with orange eyes on the left, the fast-looking one on the right. Jiwoo walked forward until she was about 3 meters away. She stopped there, feet shoulder-width apart, hands relaxed at her sides. Open body language, no threat, but no fear either. The scarred Vraken spoke first. "Human Jiwoo, I am Cressa, pack leader of the Stormclaw pack." He gestured to the others. "This is Thax." The dark one nodded. "And Vorn." The fast one tilted his head in greeting. "You know Rocky." "I do," Jiwoo said. "You have been spending time with our pack brother," Cressa continued. "This is unusual. Vraken do not bond with prey species." "I'm not a prey species," Jiwoo said calmly. "And I don't think Rocky is bonding with me. I think we're just friends." Thax made a sound like a snort. "Friends, an interesting concept." "You defended another human from Shrike," Vorn added. His voice was higher than the others, faster. "You did not run. You used technique, leverage, intelligence over strength." "That is very unprey-like," Cressa said. He took a step closer. Jiwoo held her ground. "We have been watching you, human Jiwoo, studying you, trying to understand what you are." "I'm just a student," Jiwoo said. "No." Cressa's yellow eyes were intense. "You are something else, something we have not encountered before. So we invite you here to understand, to test, to see if our pack brother has chosen wisely in befriending you." "Okay," Jiwoo said simply. "How do you want to test me?" The 3 Vraken exchanged glances. Rocky shifted nervously. "We have prepared a simulation," Cressa said. "A hunting exercise. It is designed for Vraken. Our young ones complete it as a rite of passage. No other species has ever attempted it." "What do I have to do?" Jiwoo asked. "Survive," Vorn said, his voice almost eager. "Track, hunt, adapt. The simulation lasts 1 hour. If you survive the full time and complete even one objective, we will consider the test passed." "And if I don't?" Jiwoo asked. "Then we will know you are not worthy of Rocky's friendship," Thax said bluntly. "And we will separate him from you, for his own good." Jiwoo looked at Rocky. He met her eyes but said nothing. This was not his test to interfere with. This was between her and the pack. "All right," Jiwoo said. "I'll do it." Cressa nodded with what might have been approval. He led her to the simulation pod at the back of the hall. It was a large cylinder with neural interface connections. Jiwoo had used similar systems before for training exercises. "The environment will be harsh," Cressa warned as he helped her connect the sensors. "It is modeled after our homeworld. High gravity, dangerous terrain, predators. The objectives will appear as glowing markers. Reach one to complete it." "But be warned, human Jiwoo. This simulation has injured Vraken who were not prepared. Your kind is weaker, smaller. We will not judge you if you wish to refuse." "I don't refuse," Jiwoo said. She settled into the pod, feeling the neural connections establish. "Let's see what you've got." The world dissolved. When it reformed, Jiwoo was standing in a jungle, but it was like no jungle on Earth. The trees were massive, their trunks wider than buildings. The sky above was dark red like blood. The air was thick and humid, hard to breathe, and everything was heavy. Jiwoo took a step and nearly fell. The gravity was much stronger here. Every movement felt like she was wearing a weighted vest. She forced herself to breathe slowly, adjusting. A roar echoed through the jungle. Something big, something hunting. Jiwoo looked around. About 30 meters away, she saw a glowing blue marker through the trees, her first objective. She started moving toward it. Every step was work. The heavy gravity pulled at her, her muscles burned. But she kept going, using trees for support, choosing her path carefully. A shape moved in her peripheral vision. Large, fast. She dove behind a tree trunk just as something massive crashed through where she'd been standing. She caught a glimpse of it. 6 legs, armored hide, teeth like daggers. The creature sniffed the air, hunting. Ji-Woo stayed perfectly still. She controlled her breathing. Slow, quiet. A technique she'd learned from her grandfather, who'd been a hunter. If you stay still enough, predators sometimes lose track of you. The creature moved on. Ji-Woo waited another 30 seconds, then moved. But she didn't go straight to the marker. That would be predictable. Instead, she circled around, using the terrain. She found a stream and walked in it, hiding her scent. She climbed a tree despite the extra effort in the high gravity and moved through the branches. The marker was in a clearing. Of course it was. Nothing was easy. Ji-Woo studied the area from above. 2 more creatures patrolled the clearing, smaller than the first but faster. They moved in patterns, predictable patterns. She waited, watched, timed their movements. When both creatures were at opposite ends of the clearing, Ji-Woo dropped from the tree. The impact in the high gravity nearly knocked the wind out of her, but she rolled with it, absorbing the shock. She sprinted toward the marker. One of the creatures spotted her. It shrieked and charged. Ji-Woo didn't try to fight it. She couldn't. It was too big, too strong. Instead, she grabbed a loose branch as she ran and threw it to the side. The creature's eyes tracked the movement. It veered off course for just a second. Ji-Woo touched the marker. It disappeared, and a new one appeared in the distance. She didn't celebrate. She just kept moving. Outside the simulation, the 4 Vraken watched her progress on a holographic display. "She is not trying to fight," Vorn observed, almost disappointed. "No," Cressa said slowly. "She is being smart, using the environment, misdirection. She knows she cannot match the predators in strength." "Look at how she moves," Thax added. "She is tired. The gravity is crushing her, but she does not stop." Rocky watched silently, his claws extending and retracting. Inside the simulation, Ji-Woo completed her second objective, then a third. She was getting better at moving in the high gravity, finding her rhythm. She used everything she could, thrown rocks to distract predators, climbing to gain high ground, even setting a simple trap using vines and a heavy stone. When a creature got too close, she didn't panic. She used her smaller size to slip through spaces they couldn't follow. She used her intelligence to predict their movements. At the 40-minute mark, she found her 5th objective. It was at the top of a cliff. The climb would be brutal in this gravity. Ji-Woo started climbing anyway. Her fingers ached. Her muscles screamed. Sweat poured down her face, but she kept going, one handhold at a time, one step at a time. A flying creature dove at her. She pressed herself flat against the rock face, making herself a smaller target. It missed. She kept climbing. She reached the objective with 5 minutes left. When the simulation ended and Ji-Woo stepped out of the pod, her legs nearly gave out. Thax caught her before she could fall. The Vraken's orange eyes were wide with something that looked like respect. 5 objectives, Cressa said quietly. In our pack's history, no first-timer has ever completed more than 3. Ji-Woo was breathing hard. Everything hurt. But she managed a small smile. Did I pass? Vorn laughed, a barking sound. Pass? Human, you did not just pass. You excelled. How? Rocky asked, finally speaking. How did you survive? The gravity alone should have defeated you. Ji-Woo sat down heavily on a nearby bench. Because that's what humans do. We survive. We're not the strongest or the fastest. But we're stubborn. We adapt. We don't give up. Your homeworld, Thax said. Earth. What is it like? Dangerous, Ji-Woo said. We have predators, diseases, natural disasters. We evolved in a world where almost everything wanted to eat us or kill us, so we learned. We made tools, we worked together, we figured out how to survive anyway. You are persistence hunters, Cressa said suddenly. I have read about this. Your species would chase. The meal was unlike anything Jiwoo had experienced before. The Vraken had reserved a private dining area, a space designed for pack gatherings. The lighting was dimmer here, more comfortable for their eyes. The furniture was sized for their larger bodies. Jiwoo sat on a cushion that was too big for her, across from Cressa. Rocky sat to her right, Thax to her left, and Vorn across from Rocky. The food was a mix of station standard and Vraken traditional dishes. Some of it looked edible to Jiwoo, some of it definitely did not. You do not have to eat everything, Cressa said, noticing her examining the food. We know human dietary needs are different. I appreciate that, Jiwoo said. She picked up something that looked like bread and took a bite. It was dense and slightly sweet. Not bad. Thank you for inviting me. You earned it, Vorn said. He was eating something that still seemed to be moving slightly. Jiwoo tried not to watch. 5 objectives. 40 minutes in gravity that should have crushed you. You are either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Jiwoo said with a small smile. Thax laughed, a deep rumbling sound. I like this, human. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Cressa spoke again. Tell us about Earth, your homeworld. We want to understand. Jiwoo put down her food. What do you want to know? Everything, Rocky said. You said it was dangerous, but you survived. Your entire species survived. How? Jiwoo thought about how to explain. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. That's higher than your world, actually. Your planet is Class 10. All 4 Vraken stopped eating. They stared at her. That is not possible, Thax said slowly. Our world has apex predators that can tear through reinforced steel. Our gravity is crushing. Our storms can flatten forests. How can Earth be worse? Because Earth has all of that and more, Jiwoo said. Let me tell you about Earth. She settled back against the cushion, organizing her thoughts. Earth has every type of environment you can imagine. Frozen wastelands where the temperature drops so low that exposed skin dies in minutes. Deserts where the heat can cook you alive. Jungles where every plant and animal has some kind of poison or weapon. Oceans that cover most of the planet, filled with creatures that can swallow you whole. And humans live in all these places? Vorn asked, fascinated. Yes, we adapted to all of them. The frozen places, we learned to make warm clothing and build shelters. The deserts? We found water underground and learned to survive on almost nothing. The jungles? We learned which plants to avoid and which to use. The oceans? We built boats and learned to fish. But you have no natural weapons, Cressa observed. No claws, no fangs, your skin is soft, your bodies are weak compared to predators. Exactly, Jiwoo said. That's the point. We had nothing, so we had to make everything. We took rocks and shaped them into knives. We took sticks and made them into spears. We learned to make fire to cook food and keep warm. We learned to throw things with incredible accuracy. We could kill prey from a distance. She picked up a small piece of fruit from her plate. See this? My ancestors didn't just pick fruit from trees. They figured out how to plant seeds, how to grow food, how to store it for later. We went from hunters to farmers. We changed our entire world to suit our needs. That is, Thax struggled for words. That is terrifying. Jiwoo shrugged. Maybe, but it kept us alive, and we didn't just fight the environment, we fought each other too. Humans are really good at conflict. For most of our history, we were fighting other humans. We got very good at warfare. Your own species? Rocky asked, confused. Why would you fight your own kind? Resources, territory, ideas, sometimes just because we could. Jiwoo's voice was matter-of-fact. We developed weapons that could kill from miles away, bombs that could destroy entire cities. We built flying machines that could drop death from the sky. We even split the atom and made weapons that could end our entire species. The silence that followed was heavy. You created weapons that could kill all of you? Cressa asked quietly. And you survived? Barely, Ji-Woo admitted. We came very close to destroying ourselves several times, but we learned. We made rules. We decided that some weapons were too dangerous to use. We started working together instead of always fighting. It took a long time. We made a lot of mistakes. But we're still here. You are survivors, Cressa said. It was the same thing Ji-Woo had said earlier. Yes, Ji-Woo agreed. But we're more than that. We're persistence incarnate. Let me tell you about persistence hunting. She leaned forward. Before we had weapons, before we had tools, we had one advantage: endurance. Most predators on Earth are sprinters. They run fast but can't maintain it. They overheat. They get tired. But humans? We can run for hours. Days even. Days, Vorn looked skeptical. Days, Ji-Woo confirmed. Our ancestors would pick a prey animal, something fast, like a deer. They would chase it. The deer would run away faster than any human, but then it would have to stop and rest. The humans would catch up. The deer would run again. The humans would follow, again and again, for hours, sometimes for days. Until finally, the prey animal's body would give out. It would collapse from exhaustion, and the humans would walk up and kill it. That is... Thax shook his head. That is cruel. That's survival, Ji-Woo said. We didn't have claws or fangs, but we had stubbornness. We had endurance. We had brains that could plan and track and predict. We had the ability to work together, to coordinate, to communicate complex ideas. Those were our weapons. Rocky had been quiet for a while. Now he spoke. Your world tried to kill you. Your own species tried to kill you. Everything was against you, but you survived. How are you so calm, so gentle? Ji-Woo smiled sadly. Because we had to be. When everyone around you is as dangerous as you are, you have two choices. You can keep fighting until everyone is dead, or you can learn to cooperate. Learn to be kind. Learn to build instead of destroy. She gestured around the station. We could have used our weapons to conquer the galaxy when we developed space travel. We had the technology, the firepower, but we chose not to. We joined the galactic community peacefully. We offered to share our knowledge, our art, our culture. Because we learned that survival isn't just about being strong, it's about being smart enough to know when to fight and when to build bridges. The galaxy thought you were weak, Cressa said. Prey species, soft because you came in peace. Let them think that, Ji-Woo replied. It's easier that way, but we're not weak. We're just careful. We know what we're capable of. We know how much damage we can do, so we choose not to. Unless we have to. Unless you have to, Vorn repeated. Like when you faced Shrike. Exactly. He was threatening Yunji, someone who couldn't defend herself. So I stepped in. I tried talking first, but when he lunged, I defended. I didn't try to hurt him, just redirect him, make my point. You could have hurt him, Thax observed. You had the leverage, the position. You chose not to. Because I didn't need to, Ji-Woo said simply. Violence should be the last option, not the first. They continued eating and talking. Ji-Woo told them more about Earth, about the animals that had tried to hunt humans, the lions, the bears, the crocodiles, and how humans had studied each one, learned their patterns, and figured out how to avoid or defeat them. She told them about dogs, about how humans had taken wolves, creatures that hunted them, and turned them into companions, friends, family. You domesticated predators? Vorn asked in disbelief. We domesticated everything we could, Ji-Woo said. Horses to ride, cows for milk and meat, birds for eggs. We looked at animals and thought, how can we make this useful? How can we turn a potential threat into an ally? That is very human, Cressa said. There was respect in his voice. You do not see things as they are. You see what they could be. I guess so, Jiwoo agreed. The meal went on for hours. The Vraken asked questions about human history, culture, technology. Jiwoo answered as best she could. She told them about music, about art, about how humans could create beauty even in the worst circumstances. She told them about the International Space Station, about how different nation, 3 months after Jiwoo first sat beside Rocky, the Galactic Academy made an announcement. They were launching a cultural exchange program. Students would visit each other's homeworlds in small, supervised groups. It was meant to build understanding between species. Jiwoo was in the common room with Hajun when the announcement came through. He looked up from his datapad, excited. This is amazing! We could visit other worlds, see real alien environments. Which world would you want to visit? Jiwoo asked. Hajun thought about it. Maybe one of the garden worlds, somewhere safe and beautiful. You? The Vraken homeworld, Jiwoo said without hesitation. Hajun nearly dropped his datapad. You're joking. I'm not. Jiwoo, no one visits the Vraken homeworld. It's forbidden. Prey species aren't allowed. It's too dangerous. Then I'll be the first, Jiwoo said calmly. She submitted her application that evening. She knew it was a long shot. The Vraken had never allowed visitors from prey species. Their world was sacred to them. Private. Protected. 2 weeks later, she got a response. Application denied. Reason: safety concerns and cultural restrictions. Jiwoo wasn't surprised, but she was disappointed. That afternoon, Rocky found her in the library. He sat down across from her, his large frame making the chair creak. I heard about your application. News travels fast, Jiwoo said. My pack is petitioning the Vraken Council, Rocky said quietly, asking them to reconsider. We want you to see our world, to understand where we come from. Jiwoo looked up, surprised. You don't have to do that. Yes, we do, Rocky said firmly. You showed us Earth through your stories. You helped us understand humans. We want to do the same, but... He hesitated. The Council is afraid. They think you will not survive. Our world is harsh, Jiwoo. Harsher than the simulation, the gravity, the predators, the environment. It kills even trained Vraken sometimes. I know, Jiwoo said, but I still want to try. 3 more weeks passed. Jiwoo focused on her studies and spent time with her growing circle of friends. The Vraken pack, Hajun, even Eunji, who was slowly becoming braver. Then the message came. The Vraken Council had made a decision. They would allow 3 humans to visit their world. But there were conditions. They must survive 1 week in a Vraken settlement without special accommodations, no safety nets, no emergency evacuation unless someone was dying. They would live as Vraken live. If they failed, the program would be canceled forever. No prey species would ever be allowed again. Jiwoo accepted immediately. Hajun, after much convincing, agreed to join her. And to everyone's surprise, a human military officer named Do-Yun volunteered as their adult supervisor. He was stationed on the Academy for Security, a veteran of Earth's military with experience in extreme environments. Someone needs to make sure you 2 don't get eaten, Do-Hyun said with a slight smile. He was older, maybe 35, with scars on his arms and a calm confidence that reminded Jiwoo of her father. The journey to the Vraken homeworld took 3 days by ship. Jiwoo spent the time training, strength exercises to prepare for the heavy gravity, studying Vraken language and customs, learning about the local fauna and flora, what was edible and what would kill her. Rocky and his pack traveled with them. They would serve as guides and cultural liaisons. When the ship entered orbit around the Vraken world, Jiwoo pressed her face to the viewing port. The planet below was beautiful in a harsh way, continents of dark red and deep green, massive storm systems swirling across oceans, mountains that reached up through the atmosphere. "Welcome to Vraken," Rocky said, standing beside her. "Welcome to home." Landing was rough. The gravity was stronger than the simulation had prepared her for. When Jiwoo stood up after the ship touched down, her legs nearly buckled. Do-yeon caught her arm. "Steady," he said. "Take it slow. Let your body adjust." They were met by a delegation of adult Vraken, massive beings that made even Rocky look small. Their leader was an elder female named Vexcor. Her scales were gray with age, and her eyes were a pale yellow. Scars covered her body, stories of countless battles. "Humans," she said in perfect galactic standard, "you are either very brave or very foolish to come here." "Maybe both," Jiwoo said, echoing what she'd told Vorn months ago. Vexcor's lips pulled back, showing teeth. It took Jiwoo a moment to realize it was a smile. "I like this one. Come. We will show you where you will stay." The settlement was built into the side of a cliff. Stone structures that blended with the natural rock. Open courtyards where young Vraken practiced hunting techniques. The air was thick and hot. Every breath felt like work. Their quarters were simple: stone walls, sleeping platforms, no technology beyond basic lighting. "You wanted to live as we live," Vexcor said. "This is how we live." The first day was the hardest. Just walking from their quarters to the communal eating area left Jiwoo exhausted. The gravity pulled at her constantly. Her muscles ached. Sweat poured down her face, but she kept going. Do-yeon helped, showing them exercises to strengthen their legs and core. Ha-jun used his technical mind to calculate the most efficient paths through the settlement, minimizing energy expenditure. The Vraken watched them constantly, judging, waiting for them to fail. On the second day, Jiwoo joined a group of young Vraken in their morning exercises. They were surprised when she appeared, but allowed her to participate. She couldn't match their strength or speed, but she could endure. When they ran laps around the settlement, she finished last, but she finished. When they practiced climbing, she was slower, but she made it to the top. "You are persistent," one of the young Vraken said. His name was Korth. "Like a stone that will not break." "Humans are good at persistence," Jiwoo replied, breathing hard. On the third day, alarms rang through the settlement. Something was attacking. A massive predator had come too close to the walls. All warriors were called to defend. Do-yeon immediately checked his weapons. He had brought a human rifle, approved by the Council for Self-Defense. "Stay here," he told Jiwoo and Ha-jun. "This isn't your fight." But Jiwoo followed anyway. So did Ha-jun. The creature was enormous. It looked like a combination of a bear and a centipede, with armored plates and too many legs. It was trying to break through the settlement's outer wall. Adult Vraken fought it with spears and plasma weapons, but it was strong, dangerously strong. Jiwoo watched the fight, studied the creature's movements. It had a pattern. When it attacked, it reared up on its back legs, exposing its underside for just a moment. "There," she said, pointing. "Under the front plates. That's the weak spot." Do-yeon looked where she pointed. He nodded. "Good eye." He raised his rifle and waited. When the creature reared up again, he fired. 3 precise shots to the exposed area. The creature roared and fell. The Vraken warriors finished it off quickly. Vexcor approached them afterward. "You spotted its weakness. How?" "I watched," Jiwoo said simply. "Everything has a pattern, a vulnerability. You just have to be patient enough to see it." "And you," Vexcor said to Do-yeon, "your weapon. It is very precise." "Human military technology," Do-yeon explained. "We've been perfecting ranged weapons for thousands of years. When you're smaller and weaker than most predators, you learn to fight from a distance." The elder Vraken considered this. "Perhaps there is much we can learn from humans." By the 4th day, the humans had found their rhythm. They woke early, before the heat became unbearable. They worked with the settlement, helping where they could. Ha-jun used his technical skills to repair some of the settlement's older equipment. Do-hyun shared human tactics for defense and hunting. Ji-woo spent time with the young Vraken, teaching them about human endurance techniques. On the 5th day, Cressa invited them to join a hunting party. A real hunt, not a simulation. They would track and kill prey for the settlement's food stores. It was brutal. The gravity made every step difficult. The terrain was rough. But Ji-woo kept up. When the hunting party found their prey, a large, 6-legged herbivore, she stayed back and watched. This was the Vraken's hunt, not hers. But when the prey ran, when the Vraken gave chase, Ji-woo had an idea. Ha-jun, Do-hyun, follow me. They circled around, using a path the Vraken wouldn't take because it was slower. But Ji-woo had studied the terrain. She knew where the prey would run. They positioned themselves along the route. When the prey came through, exhausted from being chased by Vraken, it ran straight into the humans. Do-hyun fired one shot. Clean. Efficient. The prey fell. The Vraken caught up moments later. Cressa stared at the fallen prey, then at the humans. You planned this. Coordinated. That's what humans do, Ji-woo said. We hunt together. We plan. We use every advantage we have. You are pack hunters, Thax said, understanding dawning in his orange eyes. Like us, but different. Exactly like you, Do-hyun said, just with different methods. On the 6th day, something changed. The Vraken stopped watching the humans with suspicion. They started watching with respect. Young Vraken asked questions about Earth. Adults shared stories of their own hunts and battles. There was a shift in how they spoke to the humans. Less formal, more friendly. That evening, Vex-Core held a ceremony. The entire settlement gathered. She stood before Ji-woo, Ha-jun, and Do-hyun. You came to our world, she said, her voice carrying across the courtyard. You survived. You adapted. You showed strength not through claws or teeth, but through intelligence, persistence, and cooperation. The Council has decided. We grant you the title of Thraknor. It means fellow hunter in our language. It is the highest honor we can give to those not born Vraken. She placed a carved stone pendant around each of their necks. You are welcome on our world. Always. Ji-woo bowed her head respectfully. Thank you. This means more than you know. On the 7th day, as they prepared to leave, Rocky approached Ji-woo one last time. You asked if you could visit our world. Now we ask, can we visit yours? Ji-woo smiled. Of course, but I should warn you, Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. Higher than yours. Rocky's yellow eyes widened. So did those of his pack. How is that possible? Because Earth doesn't just have one type of danger, Ji-woo explained. It has all of them. Every environment, every type of predator, every challenge. Our world tried very hard to kill us. We survived anyway. Then we must see it, Cressa said firmly. We must understand how you became what you are. All right, Ji-woo agreed. But when we get there, let me show you something. Let me show you why humans are the way we are. The journey back to the station was different. The Vraken and humans sat together, sharing stories, planning the next exchange. The barriers that had existed when Ji-woo first entered that classroom were gone now. When they arrived back at the academy, news of their successful visit had spread. Other species looked at the humans differently now. If the Vraken, the fierce predators, respected humans, maybe there was more to these soft-looking creatures than anyone had thought. Instructor Velmara called Ji-woo to her office a few days later. You've changed something here, the Novan said. The integration program was struggling. Species stayed separate, afraid of each other, but you built bridges. I just sat in an empty chair, Ji-woo said. You did more than that, Velmara corrected. You showed everyone that prey and predator are just labels, that underneath, we're all just people trying to survive and find our place in the galaxy. That's a powerful lesson. Ji-woo looked out the window at the stars. Earth was out there. So was the Vraken homeworld. So were countless other planets with countless other species. All different, all unique, but maybe, just maybe, not so different after all. The galaxy is big, Ji-woo said quietly, but it gets smaller when you make friends. And somewhere in the academy, in classroom 7B, a young human and a young Vraken sat side by side, working on their homework together. The teacher smiled and said nothing. It was exactly what the integration program was meant to achieve. Understanding, respect, friendship. One empty chair at a time. That had fought wars against each other came together to build something amazing in space. About cooperation, overcoming conflict. Your species is a paradox, Cressa finally said as the meal ended. You are gentle and violent, weak and strong, prey and predator. You should not exist. By all logic, you should have gone extinct long ago. But we didn't, Ji-woo said. We're here, we survived, and we'll keep surviving. Cressa stood. The others followed. Ji-woo stood as well, though she was much smaller than all of them. Ji-woo of Earth, Cressa said formally. The Stormclaw Pack recognizes you. You are not prey, you are not predator, you are something beyond our understanding, and we are honored to call you friend. He extended his arm again. Ji-woo grasped it firmly. The honor is mine, she said. Rocky stepped forward. You taught me something, Ji-woo. You taught me that strength comes in many forms, that my pack can be more than just Vraken. Your pack can be whoever you choose, Ji-woo said. That's the beautiful thing about friendship. It doesn't care about species or claws or size. It cares about respect, trust, understanding. As Ji-woo left the dining area that night, she felt different, lighter somehow. She'd made real friends here, not just Rocky, but his entire pack. They'd accepted her, understood her, or at least they were trying to. Maybe that was all any species could ask for. Understanding, acceptance, a chance to show who they really were beneath the surface. Earth was millions of miles away. But Ji-woo didn't feel quite so homesick anymore. A prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. Sometimes, Ji-woo agreed, we're not built for speed, but we're built for endurance. We keep going long after other animals give up. The four Vraken looked at each other. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Cressa approached Ji-woo and extended his arm, claws retracted. The pack wishes to share a meal with you, Ji-woo of Earth. This is an honor we do not give lightly. Ji-woo looked at the extended arm, then at Rocky, who nodded encouragingly. She reached out and grasped Cressa's forearm in a traditional Vraken greeting. I would be honored, she said. As they left Recreation Hall B together, Ji-woo walking with four Vraken surrounding her, she couldn't help but smile. Maybe humans weren't predators. Maybe they weren't prey. Maybe they were something better. Survivors. Shrike looked at his arm where she'd grabbed him, then at Rocky, then back at Ji-woo. He nodded once, a gesture that seemed significant. Then he turned and walked out of the rec center. Ji-woo turned to check on Yoonji. The younger girl was pressed against the wall, still crying, but now staring at Ji-woo like she was some kind of superhero. Are you okay? Ji-woo asked gently. Yoonji nodded, unable to speak. Good. Next time something like this happens, don't run. Stay calm, and find me or Hajun, okay? Yoonji nodded again. Ji-woo helped her up and guided her toward the door. As they passed Rocky and his pack, the scarred Vraken spoke. That was well done, human Ji-woo. Thanks, Ji-woo said. She kept walking, supporting Yoonji. Behind her, she heard Rocky ask in his deep, growling voice, What is she? The scarred one responded, I do not know, but I think we should find out. Instructor Velmara approached Ji-woo's desk as she was packing up. That was well done, the Novan said quietly. I just moved my bag. Jiwoo replied. You did more than that. Velmara's silver skin shimmered. You may have just changed the entire dynamic of this program. Jiwoo didn't respond. She finished packing her things and headed for the door. As she walked through the corridors of the station, she could feel eyes on her again. But this time it felt different. Word traveled fast in a place like this. The human girl and the Vraken cub had shared a desk, and nothing bad had happened. Maybe, just maybe, that meant something.